Joining us in the studio for more on the 20th anniversary of the end of apartheid is Moorosi Mokuena, President and CEO of MTH Mokuena Consulting and a former member of the ANC Youth League. Mr. Mokuena, welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm pleased to be here.
20 years after the end of apartheid, how do you assess the situation politically, socially, especially for someone like you who has been involved in the struggle as a youth, because the perspective of the youth might be different from the older generation? How do you assess the situation?
South Africa has come a long way. When you look at where we are today, we have a very stable democracy, and we'll be celebrating 20 years in style, if I may say, that May 7th we'll have another elections that we as the youth then fought for. And today we have set a mark not just for South Africa, but I think for the African continent, that it's all possible. And this was all set up by Nelson Mandela when he relinquished the presidency office after just one term. So
yes,
that really set the stage. And of course, I have to point out that the Constitution really serves as the cornerstone of our democracy and where we are headed. So today, the people's patience is based on understanding that we are enjoying the rights that we never had before.
So some people will agree that after the end of apartheid, there have been a democratic regime installed. The black South African have been able to go to the election and vote. But since the end of apartheid, 20 years, there is a new generation that is now young adult. And when you talk to some of these young adults, some of them feel disenfranchised, especially with regards to unemployment and inequality with, economically. What do you think? Do you think that the leadership has failed that generation?
I wouldn't say the leadership has failed the generation, because you cannot look at 300 years of colonization, apartheid, and all the cumulative effects that has had on South Africa and expect that 20 years will redress all of that. So the only thing that I would say is that for the young people, they are not used to the patience that developed during apartheid, whereby we knew that someday we will win our freedom. So now, with the dynamics that have shifted, the expectation is that everything should happen here and today. But I think at the same time that the leadership has a challenge to make sure that those demands of the young ones are not ignored. But at the same time, I think we should not lose perspective of where we have come from and what we have achieved just in the past 20 years.
So then what do you see in terms of the priorities moving forward? There is a new election coming up, as we mentioned. Where should the priorities be?
I would say primarily education, economic development that really goes down on the lower level on the ground so people can see themselves being uplifted, and housing, because that's very important for people. I mean, even though the South African government, I think, has built over 3 million houses since 1994, there's still more to be done. There's more access to electricity. There's more access to running water and those type of economic elements and socio-economic dynamics. But I think, education, housing, and of course, employment.
And very quickly, how significant is this election this time around? Especially considering the past couple of years, there have been some challenges, controversies, and et cetera, et cetera. How significant is this?
I think it's very significant, because what it's going to do is really going to test our democracy and our tolerance, especially because it's happening after the passing of Mandela.
Yes.
And so the foundation that we have laid with our democracy is going to be tested. And I think South Africa is ready to withstand the test of time, because if you look at the multi-party democracy system that we have, everybody has a voice. You've seen people leave the ANC to start new parties and still be able to be involved in the political discourse. So I'm very hopeful.
Great. You stay optimistic. Thank you so much, Mr. Mokuena, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And that was Moorosi Mokuena, President and CEO of MTH Mokuena Consulting and a former member of the ANC Youth League.